Good morning. Welcome to another One Mind meditation. This week we don't have just one teacher's work. This week we have a whole collection of teachers. And this morning highlights the work of Mark Epstein. Well worth, I'll mention one of his books here, but well worth reading into Mark Epstein and perhaps even looking at some of the books that he's written. Danae, a very good morning. Hello, welcome to the middle of the week. We've all heard the old saying, know thyself. But what does it mean to truly know oneself? Some parts of ourselves are easy to know, normally the parts of our personality that we enjoy, perhaps who we are when we are with friends, perhaps our sense of humor or our accomplishments. But then there are almost always parts of ourselves that we would rather not know. And we cannot know ourselves without opening our arms to our shadow too. Almare, good morning. It's awesome seeing you live with us. Hello. Great seeing you. Anami, good morning. Awesome having you all here. The first thought from Mark Epstein says, the freedom that the Buddha envisioned does not come from jettisoning imprisoning thoughts and feelings, or from abandoning the suffering self. Freedom comes from learning how to hold all of it differently, juggling them rather than cleaving to their ultimate realities. To me, this realization years ago was a paradigm shift. While you are rejecting any part of you, you will not be whole, period. The road to wholeness is through finding acceptance for every single part of you, especially the worst parts. Nothing inside of you is bad. Every part of you has in some way just been trying like hell to help you cope. The next thought by Mark Epstein is, the willingness to face traumas, be they large, small, primitive, or fresh, is the key to healing from them. He says the willingness to face traumas is the key to healing from them. They may never disappear in the way we think they should, but maybe they don't need to. Trauma is an ineradicable aspect of life. We are human as a result of it, not in spite of it. And I really love that last sentence. We are human as a result of our traumas, not in spite of the traumas. Beatrix, a very good morning. Awesome seeing you. Hello. And Charlene, good morning. Happy seeing you. Trauma does not just happen to a few unlucky people. It is the bedrock of our psychology. Death and illness touch us all, but even the everyday sufferings of loneliness and fear are traumatic. In his book titled The Trauma of Everyday Life, Mark Epstein uncovers the transformational potential of trauma, revealing how it can be used for the mind's own development. And I love the title of that book. I think it's so practical. The title of the book is simply The Trauma of Everyday Life. The fact that being alive and being human is going to have us entangled with trauma from time to time. Sunmarie, good morning. Hello, great seeing you. Our lived experience, our traumas, create the parts of ourselves that we often have most difficulty with. For as long as we battle against these parts of ourselves, we'll be trapped in a war that we can't win. So clearly fighting is not the answer. Holding is what brings us to wholeness. Learning how to listen to what is crying inside. No longer rejecting but accepting every part of you is what leads to freedom from this war. My wish for you is freedom. The kind of freedom you only realize when you notice that the old triggers just don't have the same hold on you that they used to have. So if you're ready, you can close your eyes. We can slip off into today's meditation. It is called A Sense of Self, and it is one of those meditations where we are going to invite those inner children to come and sit with us and take a moment to really listen to what they're trying to say. You can close your eyes. Here we go. Take a deep breath in and out. A deep breath in and out. A deep inhale and let it go. Deep breath in and out. One more big breath in and let it all flow away. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose gets drawn all the way deep down into your belly. And as you fill up your belly with air, also raise yourself up. As you breathe in, stretch out your spine, lift at the top of your head toward the ceiling. And once you've reached your full height, let all of it go. With every exhale, soften. With every breath out, soften your spine, slump down your shoulders and drop your head. We are inviting some of our inner children to come and sit with us. In today's example, we'll invite the hurt part, a part of you that sometimes feels hurt, wounded. Perhaps we can even say the victim part, the little voice of a victim, which we often hear inside ourselves as well. Then another part of us, another of our inner children really, is that harsh voice we sometimes hear. The way in which we speak to ourselves harshly, that inner critic. So we are inviting a part that feels hurt, we're inviting that inner critic, and we're inviting a part of us that perhaps sometimes feels scared. The hurt part, the inner critic, and the scared part. Call them closer. In my mind, this always looks like a grade 1 teacher sitting on the carpet in the class, calling the kids to come and sit around her. While you continue your full body breathing, rising with every inhale and feeling your body fall with every exhale, invite these inner children to breathe along with you. Just imagine you could see them rise and fall too. And now, while it's not really important to be able to see an image of these parts, it's really helpful to be open to seeing them. What would the scared part look like? The part of you that feels scared in those moments that you feel scared. How would that part look? What about the inner critic, when that part of you speaks to you so harshly? What would that part of you look like? And then the hurt part, the part of you that feels wounded sometimes. In those moments where that part of you feels like a victim, what does that part look like? And again, don't be worried if you can't really see images. Most of us don't really see images, but get a sense of who these parts are, who they might be, and what they might look like. Let them know that you are here to listen. You want to let them speak. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together, helping our bodies stretch, adjust, and settle down into as much comfort as possible for the rest of our journey. Take a deep breath in. As you release, drop your head all the way forward. Roll out your neck muscles forward and to the left. Forward and to the right. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders forward in big, slow circles. Take a deep breath in. As you release, roll your shoulders backwards in big circles, nice and slow. Take a deep breath in. As you release, focus on your spine. Lean your upper body over to the left. And lean your upper body over to the right. One more big breath in. And as you release, you can stretch or move or adjust any part of your body that still needs a bit of help settling down. Having softened our bodies into a state of presence, or at least becoming as present as we can be right now, we can now turn our attention inwards and dive deep inside for the next part of our journey. With every next inhale, we'll hold our breath for a few short moments, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. If you don't have the time to sit for the whole meditation with us, then this is always a good place to stop. But if you are here for the whole journey, then with every next inhale, we'll hold our breath, as I've already said. Take a deep breath in and hold. And as you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. And as you release, feel into your body. Feel how softness slips in and settles in every part of your body. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, follow the downwards flow through your body. Feel how your shoulders are slowly falling. Feel how your body is slowly softening. And feel how you are slowly slipping deeper into you. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself melting. Feel your whole body dissolving. Feel how you are slipping into a deeper level of surrender with every slow exhale. You can continue the same breathing pattern on your own time. Every slow inhale through your nose is an invitation. It invites you to turn inwards and follow this journey. As you breathe in, feel the air flow in through your nostrils. Feel the air touch the back of your throat. Stay with your breath as it flows in through your lungs. And as you fill up the balloon inside your belly, feel yourself slip all the way in. Hold your breath. But hold it only for as long as it feels easy, followed by a really long, really slow exhale. With your next big breath, as you dive deep into you, remind yourself of these inner children that we have invited. The hurt part, the part of you that sometimes feels hurt or wounded. The inner critic, the part of you that can sometimes speak to yourself really harshly. And then the scared part. The part of you that might sometimes feel afraid. Make sure your arms are open to these parts, these inner children. Make sure they feel welcomed. Take your next big breath. In the beginning, an exercise like this can feel awkward, but we all have had experience with these parts of ourselves. We all have narratives within us that speak in these ways. And we can become better at listening. We can even become better at asking these parts a question, and they'll have an answer because that narrative has been well formed over years. So if this feels awkward, try and relax. Try and find a calm space and open yourself to just listening. When we get good at this, it's extremely healing. So we'll turn our attention first to the hurt part, the part of us that might feel wounded sometimes. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, I want you to remind yourself of how this narrative sometimes speaks. It might be helpful to know that very often, some of the ways this narrative speaks in sounds like, why do these things always happen to me? Some of the ways in which this narrative speaks often sounds like, it's never going to get better. It's always going to be like this. Those are just examples to help get your mind listening. So as you take a big breath, as you dive deep inside, remind yourself of what this hurt part sounds like when it speaks. What does it feel like when these are the thoughts that are triggered? Take your next big breath. Now see if you can take a look at this part of you. Can you get an idea of what this part of you might look like? And I want you to ask the hurt part a question without trying to make an answer with your mind. If you ask the question and just listen, it's very likely that this narrative already has the answer. Soften and listen. As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, look at this hurt part and speak these words. Say, hurt part. In those moments when you feel so wounded, what is it that you're afraid will happen? What is it that you are afraid will happen? And then just listen. Take your next big breath. Take a moment to acknowledge this part of you. Can you feel friendly towards this hurt part? Thank you for being seen. Thank you for being heard. We know this takes courage. We'll turn our attention to the inner critic. Can you get an idea of what that inner critic looks like? As you take your next big breath and dive deep into you, we are asking the inner critic to speak. Remind yourself of some of the ways in which you are very harsh with yourself. What does that voice sound like? Take your next big breath. And then turn towards this inner critic and ask the inner critic this question. As you take a deep breath and dive deep into you, the conversation sounds like this. Hey, critic, I get the idea that you're trying to protect me. You're trying to prevent something bad from happening. What is it you're trying to prevent? What is the bad thing that you're trying to stop? Take your next big breath. Take a moment to thank even this inner critic. I can see that what you're trying to do is just preventing me from making mistakes. Can you feel friendly towards even that inner critic? Can you have your arms open in acceptance? Lastly, we turn our attention to the scared part. A part of you that sometimes might feel really fearful. See if you can form an image of what this scared part of you might look like. As you take a deep breath, as you dive deep into you, we're asking the scared part to speak. What are the words? What are the sentences that are on repeat when you feel scared? How does that voice speak? Take your next big breath. Now turn towards this scared part and ask it this question. As you take a deep breath and dive deep into you, the question is, scared part, that part of me that sometimes feels afraid. In those moments when you are so scared, what is it that you really want for me? What is your deep desire for me? Take your next big breath. Take a moment to say thank you to the scared part for being seen, for being heard. We know that it's a brave thing to do. We'll take the last few big breaths of this phase together. And as you do, ask these inner children to arrange themselves wherever it is they'd like to be. Would they like to sit very close to you? Would they want to feel your arms around them? Perhaps they'd like to be inside of you. Whatever comes up, have them be exactly where they want to be. Let's take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, make it a really long, really slow exhale. Take a deep breath in and hold. As you release, feel how softness slips into you and settles in every fiber of your being. One more big breath in and hold. And as you release, feel yourself slip all the way through. There is no more attention on your breathing. You can sit all the way back or even lie all the way back down and feel yourself just floating. I'll read to you one more time today's message by Mark Epstein. He says, "The freedom that the Buddha envisioned does not come from throwing away imprisoning thoughts and feelings. It doesn't come from abandoning the suffering self. Freedom comes from learning how to hold it all differently, juggling them rather than cleaving to their ultimate realities." And then he says, "The willingness to face traumas, be they large, small, primitive or fresh, the willingness to face traumas is the key to healing from them. They may never disappear in the way that we think they should, but maybe they don't need to. Trauma is an ineradicable aspect of our lives. We are human as a result of our traumas, not in spite of them. While you are rejecting any part of you, you will just not be whole, period. The road to wholeness is through finding acceptance for every single part of you, especially the quote-unquote worst parts. Nothing inside of you is bad. Every part of you has in some way just been trying so hard to help you cope. Holding is what brings us to wholeness. Learning how to listen to what is crying inside, no longer rejecting but accepting every part of you, is what leads to freedom from this inner war. My wish for you is freedom. The kind of freedom that you only realize when you notice that old triggers just don't have the same hold on you that they used to have. We have the last 5 breaths of gratitude to do together. With every exhale, I'll say my thank you, and I invite you to say yours. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to listen to what speaks within me. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to allow whatever speaks within me to be heard. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning to understand who I am while I am listening. Because while I'm listening, I'm not being the hurt part. While I'm listening, I'm not being that inner critic. While I'm listening, I'm not being the scared part. I'm being the bigger, stronger part of me with arms strong enough to hold all of this. Take a deep breath in. Thank you for learning how to practice being the best part of me, the strongest part of me. Perhaps this means stepping into my soul. Perhaps soul is the part of me with arms big enough to hold all of this human experience. One more big breath in. Thank you, beautiful people. Thank you for inviting your inner children to be heard. Thank you for practicing stepping into that really strong part of you, strong but so gentle, with arms big enough to hold all of these inner children, not being scared to listen to them cry sometimes. Stefan, good morning, it's great seeing you. Vivian, good morning, good seeing you. Yvonne, hello, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Sunmarie. Thank you, Danae. I'll have a look at the emails again. Every now and again you don't receive them. I'll check in. Thanks for the reminder, Danae. Thank you, Beatrix. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, Charlene. Thank you, Anami. Thank you, Michelle. Have a beautiful day, beautiful people. See you soon. Ciao, ciao.